Hey, what's up guys? It's a beautiful day outside today, so I figured it would be a great time for a video. I am currently waiting for my paycheck to go get the rest of the paint that I need to finish up on my interior painting project on the Corolla. That should be sometime later this week, so we're gonna do story time. And what I'm gonna talk about today is, what kind of started my love for cars, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my first car, but we're going to talk about the adventure behind that. So to start off with, we'll go back to the very beginning. Whenever I was a very young kid, 3, 4, 5 maybe, I go into the store with my grandparents. Now, my granddad has always been very into cars. He actually used to either manage or own, I don't remember which, a motorcycle shop, and he would do the work on them himself. So he's always been into cars, and he would always pick out these little Matchbox cars when we were at the store, and he would show them to me, and he'd tell me different little facts about them, and he'd show me which ones he really liked, and all this different stuff that I really didn't understand at that time, because you got to remember I'm a tiny little tot. I didn't really get into it a whole lot, but it definitely stuck with me, and that kind of became a tradition. Every time we go to the store, we'd pick up 3 or 4 of those little Matchbox cars, the ones that I really liked, and some of the ones that he liked. Back then, these things were only like, 88 cents, something like that, and we'd pick up several every trip to the store. It got to the point where I had this giant clear carrying case. It had 20, 30 little Matchbox cars in it at a time. It got to the point where I had so many, I started stacking the little cars on top of each other in the little slots that I had for them. That's irrelevant. Anyway, fast forward to when I was 11 or 12, I got a PlayStation 2 for Christmas. Now, one of my favorite games on the PlayStation 2, of course, like a lot of people, was Need for Speed. And I believe it was Underground was the first one I got. It was just amazing to me, the fact that, here on the TV, I could get all these cars and customize them and do whatever I wanted to them and race people and all this. And this was just fascinating. That's kind of what started my love for cars. But it wasn't until later that I really kind of dove into it, and it really became a big part of my life. And we're going to get into that in a minute. But that is essentially what started the interest in cars. Growing up on Need for Speed, Gran Turismo, all those games. I grew up playing these, and as any kid, I was dreaming about my first car. I was wanting my first car to be this super awesome, really cool car like you would see on a game. And, my parents always told me, don't get your hopes up, because you're not getting a really nice car for your first car. It's not going to happen. So fast forward to the time I was about 14. My parents did not have any intention of me getting a car. I think 15 is what we decided on when we talked about it. That way, by the time we found something and, they helped me learn a little bit more about cars, it'd be time to get my permit and all that and get ready. We had no intentions on looking for cars, so I had another year or so. As we were driving by this car lot, and now before I say anything else, let me just tell you, this car lot was not in my parents' vocabulary. When I even mentioned this car lot, they completely stopped the car, looked at me, and almost took me home just for even mentioning it. Okay, that's an exaggeration. That didn't happen. But they were not at all thrilled about me mentioning this car lot. Back to the story. As we drove by this car lot on the way to the doctor's appointment, I saw out of the corner of my eye this beautiful, shiny red Camaro. Now, I didn't know it was a Camaro at the time. I didn't know anything about it. Like I said, I'm 14. I don't know a whole lot about cars. The extent of my knowledge on cars was you can drive them and they look cool. That was all I knew. I knew models and such of certain vehicles. I could tell you a little bit about certain cars, but I couldn't really just pick out a car and tell you what it was at the time. I just knew what looked cool and what didn't. So passing by and I noticed this car, I immediately said, Dad, this car that we just passed. And I knew better. I talked to my dad first, because my dad knows about cool looking cars. My mom probably really didn't care a whole lot. So I knew better. I went to my dad. They asked where I saw it, and I told them the car lot. And so I told him, I said, hey, can we at least go look at it? Can we at least go check it out? Let me just look at it. Even if I can't get it, I understand we're not supposed to be buying for a little bit. Can we go look at it? And, they said, let's go finish our errands. Let's go get the stuff we need to get done first. And if there's time on the way back, we can go check it out. So we did. We finished up what we had to do. And on the way back, we stopped by and checked it out. Now, it turns out this car was a 1996 Chevrolet Camaro. And being a 96, this car was quite a bit older than most of the other cars on the lot. I'd say this was about 2008, 2009, so we're talking 12 years old. So we were checking out this car, and we asked them, why is it here? What's wrong with it? And they said, well, we don't actually know if there's anything wrong with it as of yet. We just got it in here recently. We don't know a whole lot about it, to be honest. We just know that we're sending it off to auction. The only thing I remember is that it belonged to a young guy, and I don't think he took very good care of it. I know the interior was really dirty, the headliner was falling down, so on and so forth. Now, at this time, we had no intentions on buying. So, you know, here we are at this car. I'm looking at this car that I'm just absolutely falling in love with. Everything just seems to be kind of working out. So we asked them how much they wanted for it, and they said $3,000. My parents told them, you know, we don't really want to pay $3,000. It's going to be a first car. We're not really looking to pay that much right now. So we did manage to talk them down to, I think, $2,500 is what we got. And this was headliner being fixed, a detailing included, along with like an extra tank of gas. My parents did some pretty good negotiation on this car. I think we got it to $2,500 all cleaned up. So that day, we went home. Now at this point, I had some in my savings. I had been saving up money from birthdays, Christmases, all that stuff. I had been saving up for, I think, a couple of years. Just because I was so excited about getting my first car, I wanted to make sure I had money ready so that if the situation ever came, I'd be ready for it. And sure enough, we passed by, managed to see the car, got a decent price. We went home, got the money, came back that day, said, hey, we'll take it. So I gave my parents the half that I owed. They covered the rest. Came back the next day, and it was all cleaned up. We got it, brought it home, and this car pretty much sat in the driveway for 2 years. Now, my dad did drive it a little bit to keep it running, to keep everything good. I still remember whenever we actually, my dad would drive out to the country, and I would ride with him. He would let me, you know, do a little bit of driving in the country where there was nobody around. That's how I learned to drive, was on this car. And that is basically how I got this first car. It was just completely by chance. We had no intentions to get a car. We were just driving, going to a doctor's appointment like regular. We just happened to spot it. Got it that day. That car has been one of the best vehicles I've ever owned in my life. It had 90,000 miles on it when we bought it. I drove it like absolute hell because I did not know what I was doing. I had no experience with a car. I didn't know anything about maintenance. I didn't know anything about upkeep. I didn't know anything. I just drove it as fast and as hard as I could up until I think I turned about 18 when I finally started noticing that this is not how you treat a car. That would be when I had my first good wreck. And by good wreck, I mean bad wreck. But it was a good wreck. That is another story that I will get into in a later video. But this car did not experience any problems until about 138,000 miles from 90,000. And it lasted me all the way through the rest of my high school. Lasted me all the way up until my first job, actually. And I drove this car for 6 years before I had any problems with it. And this was with absolute driving like hell and everything else. Definitely worked out for me. Very proud to have had that car. I still have the car, actually, and I'm going to be fixing it up. And you're going to see a lot more of this car. I'm not letting this car go. It's been there for me. It's been very reliable. I'm going to make sure it continues to be reliable. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else to say. I just kind of wanted to keep this short and, you know, kind of give a little story. But a little update on some more things that are coming up. Like I said earlier, I will be buying some more paint. I'm going to be redoing a couple of the interior pieces with the blue. I'm going to be getting some lens tint, maybe. I haven't decided between lens tint, plastic dip, or vinyl, but I'm going to be tinting out my headlights and taillights, so be on the lookout for that. I'm going to be dipping some of the emblems and some of the extra pieces around the car. So it's a little bit loud. But yeah, I've got a lot of projects coming up. There should be more coming up this week. It just depends on how everything works out, but I'm definitely going to be painting some more on the inside of the car and doing some of the emblems. Hopefully getting the headlights tinted and all that. Stay tuned for that. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and it would be awesome if you guys want to tell me about your first car in the comments. Even if you don't want to tell the story about it or you don't remember the story, tell me what kind of car you had. I love hearing what people started out with. I feel like the first car that somebody ever drives or somebody ever has is just a huge experience in their life. I mean, the first of anything is a big deal, but the first car to me is just something super important, and I just find it very interesting to hear what everybody's first car was. So yeah, drop your first car in the comments. If you want, leave a story, whatever you want to do. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and I will see you here soon. Bye.
Living with ambitions and goals with more flows than where amphibians show with a glow that derives from my own passions and don't tell me that I'm hated and won't last in my home, cause I know it, but intend to flip and make it my mission to move from being a loser to win-win decisions, whether assisted or me riding solo. It's whatever, just know that my life would be sweeter than froyo. All on my mind is the thought of me getting a greatness, hoping and grinding to shine through the music I'm making, having something to show for all the time that I've taken, all the sweat, tears, blood drops not wasted, painstaking, emotion on every page. Every time I suffer stress, I escape from the rage, my crave, and it brought us my desire every day to hop up on the stage and make the audience say, holy clips, holy clips.